Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm going to do something slightly different today. Last night, I had a dream, and I found that dream was telling me quite a story. So I am going to copy the example of Jeremiah Johnson and take you on a story of my dream and what I think that dream means, and even what it means for you, actually, if truth be known. The story of the dream was that I was in a carpeted room, and I was quietly sitting on the bench at the side of the room, and an old man dressed well, a man really dressed in old-fashioned work dressed as an old-fashioned workman came along and told me that there were silver things in the carpet, and I had his permission to pick them up. Well, I got up and looked around and found some quite valuable silver chains hiding in the carpet. They'd been left behind by the market stalls that had been in the building. You see, it was one of those times when you'd had a market, but the market was in the room inside the building with the carpets, and they'd had all these people with like a market stall. What my American cousins would probably call booths, and I would call market stalls, because they'd had tables and stands, and obviously some of them had been selling jewelry. Well, there was a funny thing about these chains, because they were scattered around a bit. In one place there was one chain, in another place there were two chains together, and yeah, they were sometimes in small groups, and then all of a sudden the scene shifted, and there I was carrying boxes of food. And I mean, I don't mean little boxes. I mean the sort of, I think the 32-liter boxes that you put there. So they weren't very tall. They're about sort of like 6 inches high, and whoa, that long and that wide and that high. I mean, those sort of boxes. And there was food in these boxes, and yeah, and they were literally full of food. Well, I sat and I thought, well, the first thing with things like that is I write them down. Then I have a think. Hmm, there's all sorts of things that came to my mind with this. Um, and then I asked Perplexity for some more ideas, and yeah, I thought, well, yes, some of those ideas for those symbols work, and some of them don't. So this is what I understand from all that symbolism. First thing, the room is a space inside the building. Fair enough. And I got the sense that this was inside a building where God was in charge, and that the old-fashioned workman was a representation of God. He was, I suppose, God the Creator as as a worker. I mean, workers create things, don't they? The second thing there was that it was a carpeted room. And that carpeted room represented what the spiritual landscape of it is at the moment. I mean, the stalls were only supposed to be there for a certain time, and it was time to pack them up. But there were also a time when new stalls were coming into the room to help people build a relationship with God. So the old was being packed up and going away, and the new was coming in. Well, why on earth would all those news stores be packing up? Well, what I thought it meant was that the departed stores symbolized the traditional churches that once provided for people's needs. The fact that they'd been packed up and left the building suggested that there was a transition or change in the spiritual landscape. They've served their purpose and now have been packed away because God is removing the old way of doing things. There again, I also had this idea of what was it like with the cleansing of the temple when Jesus came in and flipped all the their the sellers are the tables over at the sellers because they weren't doing things quite right. If you've seen all the things, all the exposures in the church in there, uh, I mean, even just yesterday, I was looking at my Facebook feed, and they were going over the report of one particular gentleman from the UK who had been behaving inappropriately on there. More well, on there it was a horrible, horrible situation. And then, what on earth could those hidden silver chains mean? Well, could they be the people who've already been purified with the fire? I mean, the Bible talks about as being purified in the fire, and silver being, you see silver being heated up in the fire, and there's sort of all the difficult circumstances, and then the bits of the impurities come up to the top and get scooped off until such time that the silver itself is so pure it looks like a mirror. There's that idea to think about in terms of the silver chains. Maybe that would make sense why they were silver rather than gold. And they were linked, and these silver chains were sort of like they were sort of like groups of people, I suppose, because they were already connected with other people. And as they were sort of like found in ones and twos, even if the chains didn't represent different people, the fact that there were actually sometimes there were two or three together suggested that they had some relationship with each other. And yeah, and these sort of they were sort of like linked in fellowships and existing communities. And they because of all this idea of the purity, as I mentioned before, there was clarity, and there was just a sense of connection between them. But the thing is, why on earth were they hidden in the carpet? Well, one of Perplexity's suggestions was that they were people who had been overlooked and unappreciated. Well, the next thing it comes up with this idea there, because I put all sorts of text into Perplexity and it had organized it for me. These AI sites are good at doing that. You give them ideas and they help you organize them better, and you think, oh, yeah, I've started it, you've taken it on a bit further, and it's good. That's one reason why I like using things like that. Anyway, it says about the act of picking up the chains suggests that these were the people who God has asked me to serve. By picking up the chains, I'm gathering relationships and networks that have been left behind by the outdated systems. And the fact that I'd been given permission to pick up the chains would indicate a calling or a responsibility to gather and preserve those spiritual groups for the benefit of others. For the benefits, yeah. And then the last thing that I was thinking there was that, I said about carrying in boxes of food, and I said they were great big boxes, like that, great big boxes of food. And yeah, why on earth is that? And I mean, it's obviously something new nourishment, sort of giving them new ideas to replace the old ideas. Like the old ideas had gone and the new ideas were coming in, and there was the picking up the bits as a sort of continuity, the bit between the old and the new. Well, the sort of Perplexity helped me work this out a bit. Because the idea of bringing these boxes into the room suggests a readiness for a new chapter or a new responsibility to feed people. And it's also made me think that made me think, well, yeah, if I've already got if the food is already in the boxes, it's in the car, and the strange thing about cars is they very often in dreams represent ministries. I've already got the boxes of food packed up in the ministry in there, and I've already got things that could be taken into the building to feed them. Ooh. So they already got the ideas that were needed to provide the spiritual and emotional support to those people. And this transition from the stalls to me bringing in the boxes of food, it just reinforces the idea of a shift in how spiritual nourishment is provided and received. Well, you imagine how putting all that lot together made me think. I think, well, how on earth does that ever work out? Well, I must admit, for ages now, I've heard people say the church is in a mess. Don't bother going anywhere near some parts of the church because it's such a mess. If you go anywhere near it, you'll get hurt, and you need to get out and leave it behind. And this dream was talking about God pulling down these market stalls, pulling down them to making them pack up and go away. But he still had things, but he still wanted to look after the things the silver chains that were left behind. He still wanted to look after them, but the old was going away, and he wanted to bring new things in. And I just found it so so I don't know, so satisfied. Well, so no, satisfying is not quite the word. I just found it so interesting that for years God has been sort of putting me in places and helping me pull ideas together about various things that would actually help people in difficult circumstances. I've got the Find Your Purpose, Live Your Life materials that's on there. I've got a vision day that I prepare, materials that I prepared that would be useful for those coming out of the traditional church to know what they were going to do next. Well, once the church had was struck, well, maybe the church was packing up and they actually had that vision day, what they could do for that. And you see, the thing is, it's sad, but you look at some of the figures and the projections for the traditional church, and some of them are not if they're sort of, oh, I mean, there was this economist who did this study. And remember how during the COVID we were talking about the level of reproduction there. So how many new people were getting picking up COVID, and they were saying, well, they're using this R number, and the lower the R number, the less less that COVID was spreading. Well, there was somebody that used the same sort of statistics on the churches, and he sort of some time ago, and they suggested that there are some churches that might see 2030, but not much more. Others that might last as long as 2040. So at the current rate of replication or lack thereof, they might last, maybe 5, maybe 10 years. Yeah, that doesn't sound strange, but if that's what's happening with those ones, I wonder, is God actually sorting it out so that he's got new things coming along and there, and the people that are precious to him, those silver chains, that silver jewelry that's already purified, that's already like precious jewelry, he sort of let it fall onto the carpet and stay in that sort of area of which that spiritual landscape, in that carpet area, and he's let it fall in there, and then it's allowed somebody else who is given a whole load of ideas, a whole load of food, who's sort of got in some way of developing sort of new ideas and well, not so much new ideas, but different ways of using his words, and sort of slightly there, because if you're really doing things God's way and in the biblical fashion, well, there's no actual new things under the sun. It's just that there's a different times when different parts of the Bible are seen as having more relevance, and sort of, yeah, you might find a time when people do ABC, and there might be a time when, oh, well, the new truth is CDE, or whatever, or whatever it is on there. So that's what I was thinking. And there are ways in which I do feel as though I've been sitting on the sidelines for a long time. And the idea of being able to stand up, be myself, and connect with the people that the old churches have left behind. Oh, that really, I found that really encouraging. It really it was something that I could actually felt as though I could rejoice about, because it's not easy sitting on the sidelines, and it's not easy standing up to be yourself, as some of these videos have shown me. I mean, the one I did last night, well, I was quite happy with it while I was doing it, and then when I went back and tried to transcribe it and play with it, it was, I transcribed it, put it in the video, put it in said to I think when I said to Perplexity, well, would you make a video script out of this? And what had been recorded as an hour's video suddenly became a 30-minute script. I knew I have a habit of rambling and going round in circles, but that, to knock off 30 minutes, that's a bit excessive. That's why I'm doing these and testing different ways of doing them, so that I get us a little bit of experience and do things that could be useful. But while I'm practicing and doing things, and you see, it sounds good that was I'm sort of thinking, well, yeah, I can stand up and be myself and connect with people that the old churches have left behind. And yeah, that's encouraging. And it also sounds good to me that it would be possible to pick up the jewelry that's already prepared and ready to wear. I mean, it's not as though it's starting from complete scratch from new. It's sort of things it's already prepared and it's all ready to wear. It just needs a bit of a polish up or a dust down or whatever, but it's there, it's ready, it's prepared. And I'm thinking, oh, this is sounding interesting. But yeah, I mean, then of course it also reminded me that while these chains link together, when I was doing the Safe Haven group, one of the things that we used as a value was that instructions do not become chains. By that I meant you give people instructions, and then they didn't have to follow them slavishly like a pattern. It wasn't as if you had to repeat exactly the same thing. For doing that, you could do things a little bit differently on there, so that they could do things that suited them. And there, and it wasn't they might use the same tools on there, but the things they produced as a result were absolutely amazing and very different. And that's why I say instructions are not chains, and that's one of our values, which is why it made it very curious that this dream mentioned this idea of chains, because one of my experiences of traditional church is that I've been sticking to their values and doing their ways of doing things, and yeah, it's not always been a comfortable experience. So, what do you think about my idea of the dream? Have you ever does it resonate with you in any way? If you started to think that the church is in a change of radical change in the sense that the old is going and the new is coming, or are you one of these people that see the old going and wonder what the new actually is? That's scary. That's actually why on the now where did I put that? I actually had it written down. Gee, but I must get one of those business cards up here. I have a business, and that one of those business cards I have, it talks about having a oh, it's not there either. Right, it talks about having look, providing a lifeboat in a time of spiritual chaos. Yeah, that's one of the things that we're seeing at the moment. There are people that do need lifeboats in a time of chaos, and that's just another picture there that there. And in fact, when I think about it, I feel quite sorry for those chains. You see, if the old is gone and they're lying in the carpet and to quote there, lying in the carpet, all right, they're relatively comfortable, they're relatively protected, but they need lifting up, they need support, they need to do other things, need help to keep them going, really. And if they've got if they've got those already on the floor, well, yeah, I think some people feel really quite alone in this, and they really do need a lifeboat in a sea of in a sea of spiritual chaos, basically. And yeah, and God has been giving me all sorts of ideas, and He's doing all sorts of things. If you caught last night's ramble, you'd have seen me try and express that in a way on there. So you are more than welcome to share your thoughts on this in your comments below. I'm saying trying different there, and and don't forget to subscribe, because I'm trying to do things that will I'm trying to reach people who really actually in a sense there. I mean, I suppose I'm trying to reach people who might be represented by those chains, those who are bright and shiny, but and sort of ready-made, sort of had experiences of the church and sort of ready-made disciples, as in a sense. But the church has moved on. The church is not where they are at the moment, and they haven't got anything around them to keep them going and keep them picked up. And God has given me a variety of different types of food to take into that building and to feed people with. And in a sense, that's what these YouTube videos are about, finding different ways to help people to get fed. Anyway, if you're one of those chains, don't please subscribe, and we'll be able to you'll be able to catch up more videos. And yeah, they will improve, I promise you that. Anyway, enough of that for now. See you next time. Bye.